Now, I want to spend a lot of time on this example. In the mid to late 70s, a very important thing happened. In the mid-70s, what happened image-wise? What was the big thing in imaging in the mid-70s? Mary? Computed tomography, enabled by the fact that instead of having a room full of computers, you now have a computer in a bread box. And so computed tomography is very computationally intensive, but the computations could be done in a bread box, and you could start selling high-tech computed tomography systems. However, the pictures were an order of magnitude better to look at. They were also an order of magnitude more, well, dollars. So people said, hey, this is just like we have today. It was the healthcare crisis, but it was big time because things were changing by an order of magnitude. People said, you know, if we're going to spend an order of magnitude more for a piece of imaging equipment, we better start having some evidence about how good these systems are. So people said, let's do studies of CT versus whatever else is competing with it at the time, which was radionuclide imaging and a bunch of other things. If you saw the movie The Exorcist, you know, the kid sits in a chair and gets, what do they call that? Pneumoencephalography. I mean, there were a lot of other very strange ways of imaging the brain then. CT made a lot of that very simple, but it was expensive. Well, there are people at NCI, I can be happy to tell you their names if you're interested. They said, let's go to our friends at BB&N, John Sweats. So if Charlie Metz is the father of ROC analysis in our community, John Sweats was the grandfather. John Sweats was one of the people in the hallways at Michigan saying, how do we do this ROC analysis quantitatively? So John Sweats, who hired David Getty, was a very statistically oriented psychologist. No doctors here. But if you read this paper from Science, there's a long list of doctors, consultants at the back. And then there have many, many doctors who actually read the films. So this is heavily clinically involved. And David Getty has almost turned it into a religion to commit himself to find out what are the real-world clinical issues. And so this may look like it comes out of academia, but this is a heavily clinically oriented crowd here. They were commissioned by people at the National Cancer Institute to put together a protocol. So what this says, this is from the first paragraph of their paper. We are currently completing for the NCI, this is in the Science paper, a general protocol for the evaluation of diagnostic devices with an emphasis on imaging. The current study is to refine and to illustrate this protocol. The work is in the journal Science. It issued into this book, which came out in 1982. You can see my copy is a little dog-eared. Oh, here's my talk today. Sometimes checks fall out of these things when I do this. This book came out in 1982. That's sort of a little Bible to tell you how to get into the game and how to live according to this protocol. And I forgot to tell you who BB&N is. It stands for Bolt, Beranek, and Newman. Today it's called BB&N. It's in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It has these people who work in underwater acoustics, in anti-submarine warfare. Today they work in voice recognition systems. They've designed concert halls from all the way from here to the Tokyo Concert Hall. Some of the fathers of the internet are there. But they're very serious statisticians and very serious about doing quantitative measurements. So the NCI people said, let's go to the grandfather. He was just the father at that time, or just a pretty young fellow. Let's get these people to put together a protocol for us to compare imaging modalities quantitatively, especially in the world that they had at the time. We want to know what we're getting for our dollars, and we're spending money.